Hillary and Trump and millennials in the middle. Let's talk Temecula. Welcome to Let's Talk Temecula, and thanks for joining us. This is political discussion for millennials by millennials. I'm Davis Hahn alongside my panel of Alexis Glennie and Ingrid Wolfe. A lot has developed in the 2016 election cycle since our last episode, with both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump clinching the nominations of their respective parties, and both of them carrying a ton of controversy on the campaign trail with them and into the July conventions, which now start in just a couple of weeks. Narrowing our focus on Hillary Clinton, her hopes of winning the presidency in 2016 rely heavily upon her ability to mobilize the Obama coalition, an ethnically diverse cross-class bloc of voters who helped propel Obama to two major victories in 2008 and 2012. Clinton has built upon this coalition with her strong support among minority voters. However, she is yet to gain favor with one of the most important yet most underrated groups in the Democratic Party, and that is the younger voting class of millennials. In a recent poll conducted by Monmouth University, 46% of respondents aged 18 to 34 reported having an unfavorable view of Hillary Clinton. This is a far cry from President Obama's unprecedented popularity with younger voters in 2008 and 2012, leading to record-breaking turnout among the group that helped propel him to both wins. In addition, Hillary Clinton struggled against her rival Bernie Sanders with younger voters in the primary. Senator Sanders from Vermont generated perhaps more excitement among younger voters than any other candidate in modern presidential politics. In fact, Sanders defeated Clinton with voters aged 18 to 29 in every Democratic primary or caucus with the exception of Mississippi and Alabama. So as we turn to our panel for the first time today, why has Clinton struggled so much with younger voters to this point?
You know, I think Clinton's biggest issue in this campaign has been her inauthenticity, and that's not only in her demeanor and the way she comes across, but also her track record. And I think with mainstream media, we've had a really hard time seeing exactly where politicians have stood on certain issues from years and years back. But now that younger voters are using outlets like Twitter and Facebook, they're able to go back a long time and showcase exactly where these politicians stood. So one example of this would be Clinton's stance on gay marriage and gay rights in general. So as recently as 3 or 4 years ago, Clinton was outspokenly against gay marriage. And back in the 90s, her and Bill Clinton, of course, helped pass DOMA and Don't Ask, Don't Tell. But now, all of a sudden, she is in favor of gay marriage and champions herself as a spokesperson for the LGBTQ community. So this is very different from Senator Bernie Sanders, who is seen marching in pride parades in the 1970s and seems to be a lot more authentic in his views because it seems like he truly believes in them. And younger voters appreciate this, and they don't like the fact that Hillary Clinton seems to be pandering politically as opposed to pushing for policies that she really believes in.
That's a really good point. So as I turn to you, Ingrid, now, from your interactions as someone who talks to average young people our age on a day-to-day basis, people who might not necessarily follow politics really closely, what have you been able to gather as the general consensus among young people as to how they feel about Hillary Clinton and how they feel about Bernie Sanders in comparison?
I mean, their presence on social media really influences how we feel about them, especially Hillary's presence. We can see how it's obvious that she is out of touch with the new generation and is trying to appeal to them with her new social justice policies, with her beliefs, versus Bernie Sanders, who is not trying to prove himself like, yes, I do stand with everybody, I do stand with LGBTQ people,
with minority voters.
With minorities. And him himself, as said before, has kept his views since he was in his 20s, since he first became a senator. So, since these are very personal issues to the new generation, we are some of the most progressive people. It's obvious that Hillary Clinton is just trying to get the vote, which makes her untrustworthy and doesn't stand right with us.
Yeah, I think that authenticity is really a big factor in Hillary Clinton's struggles with younger voters. If you just ask an average young people how they view the two Democratic candidates, you know, when they're describing Bernie Sanders the kinds of descriptions that will often come out are, he cares about me, he's trustworthy, he actually understands the struggle of middle and lower class Americans. Whereas Hillary Clinton, she's more out of touch, she's dishonest, she only cares about herself. Where, you know, people think that Bernie Sanders, he's running for president because he really cares about people, he wants to make the country a better place. And I think there are a lot of younger people who think, meanwhile, Hillary Clinton, she's just running all for herself. She's running because she wants power and she wants to further enrich herself. So I think that there's really a large gap in the authenticity question there between the two of them. And, you know, all of Clinton's scandals that have marred her political career, including the recent FBI investigation and the Benghazi report coming from Congress, have only further hurt her cause with younger voters and that trustworthiness issue. Moving on though, nonetheless, Clinton's most powerful weapon in attaining millennial support may actually be the Republican nominee, Donald Trump. The same Monmouth University poll found that an astounding 64% of respondents aged 18 to 34 have an unfavorable view of Trump. So can Trump capitalize on Clinton's struggles with younger voters, or is he too disliked by them himself to make any inroads with millennials?
You know, as much as Donald Trump would like to think that he is able to pick up the younger voters who may not be voting for Clinton, who may be on the Democratic side, I think it's fairly unlikely. In a survey conducted by Harvard, 61% of likely voters aged 18 to 29 said that they would vote for Clinton, while only 25% said they would vote for Trump. And this is a huge disparity, and it's likely not going to change with the way things are now, and the way Trump continually angers younger voters in his statements of social issues and economic issues. But I think one issue that Hillary will have to confront at one time or another is this Bernie or bust mentality. So there's a lot of younger voters on the Democratic side who are very, very committed to the Bernie Sanders campaign and say that they will either write him in the general election or just not vote at all. And Hillary Clinton, even though she has the minority vote, she needs this demographic. It's a huge demographic, and they make up such a large part of the Democratic Party that she can't go on without them. She needs to find a way to attract these Sanders supporters, and
well, and you know, another thing that has really helped Bernie Sanders' cause with younger voters is this anti-establishment move that has swept across the country during this election. Because a lot of younger voters, a lot of millennials, they've only been around, you know, since the early 90s. They've only been alive to see the politics of hyperpartisanship and gridlock that has really pulled this country down in its ability to act on social or economic or any political issues. And a lot of that originated from the first Clinton presidency when Bill Clinton was in office. So I think that a lot of younger voters view Bernie Sanders as a break from the hyper-partisanship that has really divided this country up into so many segments and prevented us from making any real progress. But getting back to Donald Trump, as I turn to you, Ingrid, again, I'm going to ask you a similar question as before. How do you think that, you know, average young people feel about Donald Trump? He has that, you know, universal name recognition, that celebrity status. Is that something that helps him, or does that actually hurt him with younger voters?
I think that, again, the millennial generation is the most progressive. We are the most open-minded and most passionate about social issues, and Donald Trump can come off as, he's very conservative, of course, and his views can be old-fashioned and very different from the progress that we've made. He can come off as offensive a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think that there's really a big group of younger voters who they really take Donald Trump's comments personally sometimes. And I'm not going to accuse Donald Trump of being a racist or a bigot, but I think that he's good at playing to the conservative base in some of his nationalist appeals in his campaign. But you make a really accurate point that the younger generation really embraces the diversity and the globalization of our culture. And when Donald Trump talks about wanting to ban Muslims from the country, or wanting to build a wall with Mexico, I think that really contradicts that, you know, diverse but unified culture that so many younger people are really embracing in their everyday lives, and that leads a lot of them to really take offense with Trump as a candidate and as a person. Now, the thinking among many Clinton supporters seems to be that younger voters dislike Trump so much that they will go to the polls to vote for Hillary Clinton just to vote against Donald Trump, even if they don't like him. But I would warn any Clinton supporter out there that negative mobilization is not a reliable way to win an election. It is much easier to win an election if people are going to the polls voting for you because they're excited about you. If the Clinton campaign is relying on younger voters to go out and vote against Donald Trump in Hillary's favor, they will come away very disappointed from this election cycle.